Let me ask you, have you ever wished you could sit at a table with other smart, driven designers and window treatment pros and just talk through the challenges in your business? Not in a giant ballroom, not at a keynote where you leave with a notebook full of ideas, but a real conversation, real coaching, and real clarity. That's what happens at my Power Talk Friday events. On October 24th at High Point Market, this is 2025, I am bringing 5 powerhouse experts, Shayna Polino, Andrea Libros, Eileen Hahn, Amber De La Garza, and Donna Hoffman for a full day of clarity, strategy, and connection. And here's the thing. There are no 2 Power Talk Fridays that are ever the same. Every lineup is brand new, so every single time you walk away with fresh insights and breakthroughs that you didn't even know you needed. The other thing about a Power Talk Friday is I always say, if you've been to one, you got to go to another one, right? They are exactly different, just as I said. But here's the other thing. When you go to a Power Talk Friday, even if the experts were the same a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years later, you're ready for different information. Have you ever listened to a podcast episode and thought you got a lot of information from it and then listened to the same episode 3 years later when we rerun it or something and you're like, my gosh, I didn't realize that. I didn't pick that up the first time, because you grow, so your ability to capture information grows. So please, if you are a Power Talk Friday alumni and you don't think you need to do it again, think twice. You're the person who knows how great this is, okay? And here's the thing, up to 18 seats only. That's it. No more than that. So we want this ratio of experts to you so that we can give you quality time and information. All right. So if you're ready to step out of the weeds and into your CEO role, I want you to go to powertalkfriday.com and sign up now. And then I will see you October 24th, 2025 in High Point. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. You know, on this podcast, we talk a lot about knowing your numbers because you know what? If you want a business that generates profit, a well-designed business, then you have to know your numbers, plain and simple. But today's show is a good reminder that those numbers don't always start and end at your books. It's about managing all of the numbers, every detail, every vendor relationship, every order that affects your profit margin and your client satisfaction. My guest today is Chelsea Viau, founder of Chelsea Lane & Company, a Palm Beach showroom and boutique specializing in wallpaper. With over 2 decades of hands-on experience and the largest wallpaper library in Palm Beach County, Chelsea supports interior designers across the country through both in-person and virtual services. Now, the conversation today isn't about wallpaper. It's about the real cost of getting things wrong. If your measurements are off, if your product isn't suited for something, if your installer doesn't flag a defect, it could cost you thousands of dollars, not to mention a client's trust. This conversation today is also about relationships, vetting your subs and vendors, and going the extra mile to cultivate real relationships in the industry, right? Because that's not a nice to have, that's an essential. Because whether you realize it or not, those partners become an extension of your business. Their performance reflects directly on you. So when you align with professionals who know their stuff and their numbers, they can save you hours sourcing, calculating, and troubleshooting, protecting both your process and your profit. And when these partners show up with integrity, precision, and deep industry knowledge, they don't just make your job easier, they make your business better. Now, of course, there are some things that you can't outsource or you choose not to, at least not in the same way you would outsource a tile guy or a wallpaper installer. When it's time to hire someone in-house to join your team, the stakes are higher. And that's why we created the Hiring Toolkit Bundle. You can go and look at the bundles at LuAnnNigara.com/store. It's a comprehensive set of proven tools and strategies to help you make confident, informed hiring decisions. Whether you're scaling to your very first employee or you're hiring your sixth or seventh or your eighth and beyond. Together with my cousin Eileen Hahn, who has for more than 40 years been building exceptional teams, including at this point for more than 50 interior design firms and window treatment firms. Together, we've created these bundles that walk you through everything from writing job descriptions to structuring interviews and evaluating candidates. It's like having a crystal ball for your hiring plan, a way to think strategically about where your business is going and who is the kind of person that can help you get there. So if you're ready to grow, please don't wing it. Head over to LuAnnNigara.com/store and check out the Hiring Toolkit bundles. All right, let's meet Chelsea. Hey, Chelsea, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. I'm happy to be here.
So, Chelsea, I didn't tell you this. I didn't give you much prep before we started, by the way. But I don't think I've asked 5 people this out of 1,400 interviews between 2 shows. But how did you get started? Like, how are you a wallpaper specialist for 15 years in Palm Beach? I'm just like, my brain is like, why and how? What's all that? What's that about, Chelsea?
So my mother has been a professional paper hanger for 40 years. So I grew up on her job sites. Like my summers were like pasting sheets and picking up scraps. So the other side of it, the labor side of it, and, you know, hanging paper in our hallways when I was 8. And my mom would always say, there's nowhere to buy wallpaper. Everyone comes to me and they know they want it, but they can't get it. And I was like, boom, business idea.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I mean, having owned Window Works for, 4 decades, we have wallpaper. We sell wallpaper at Window Works, but we don't quote it. We don't hang it. We don't do any of that thing. And what's funny is I put wallpaper in the showroom, I would say probably about 30 years ago, because of when we opened our business in 82, there were 1, 2, 3 other in the single town that we opened up in, 3 other custom window treatment specialist showrooms, but all 3 of them sold wallpaper. And we didn't in the beginning. And then around the 10-year mark, one closed down and then another one closed down. And like by 10 years in, they had more or less retired and moved on. And I was like, there's no place for anybody to get wallpaper anymore. I'm like, I don't know a dang thing about wallpaper, but you know what? We'll just put it in here. And so we've always sold it. But it is complicated, right? It's not, it's funny because window treatments are complicated, but I think for some reason it's more manageable somehow. Like, I don't know, the variables, the type of wall, the type of backing, the pattern repeats, and, staircases and, sheetrock and plaster and all the things that your mom knew. And I guess you learned as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like any other part of design. Everything is complicated. Like you said before, like designers need to know every single thing, and it is insane. Like the amount of things you need to learn. So leave it to the professionals to calculate or measure. You say Bob the Builder, leave it to Bob the Builder to do it. So yeah, there's a lot, and everything in design is intimidating when you take a step back and you're like, wow, how much goes into window treatments, the type of pleats, everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you've had this shop in Palm Beach for 15 years. It's predominantly wall coverings, but you said you also do window treatments. Tell us about the services at Chelsea Lane & Co.
Yes, so we do wallpaper. We specialize in wallpaper. We have the largest library. We have all of the vendors. And we also do window treatments, rugs, upholstery, full service
Okay.
design.
And you have the reason you're here is because you have a to the trade division. It's not like I'm talking to a retailer here. You have a to the trade division, and you service and help interior designers select wallpaper and rugs and window treatments, or pretty much is the trade restricted to the wall coverings?
We do it all for the trade, but mainly it's wallpaper. So they can worry about other aspects of the project. So a lot of times we help designers with their wallpaper calculations, ordering, so they don't have to go to all the different showrooms. They can come here. We help with all the sampling, all the ordering, tracking, delivering, inspecting, calculating.
Okay. Okay. That's a big headache because I can tell you, any designer that says to me, "Oh, what do I do? I sold my client 12 rolls of wallpaper and they only needed 9 and now they want me to pay the other." I'm like, "Who calculated the wallpaper?" "Well, I did." "What are you doing calculating wallpaper? The wallpaper hanger should be calculating it, you
Yeah.
know?" So, it's not something that the designer should have on their plate, the responsibility for calculating it. And do you also have wallpaper hangers now that you recommend, or have a fleet of wallpaper hangers that designers can access if they're local to you, or you just know how to do it, so you're calculating it and they still have to hire that on their own?
Both. So my mother, I always refer my mother. She has about 10
Oh, she's
installers.
still
She's
working?
still hanging, yes, up on a ladder, and she still has a team. She's amazing. And then we
Good for
also have
her.
our own in-house installers as well. So if it's like an accent wall or powder bath, our installers would do smaller jobs like that. And then the bigger ones, we usually refer out to Wendy. My mom.
Okay. But she's got a team of 10. That's the perfect referral right
Yeah.
there. That's like the perfect referral right there. I love that. Okay, good. Okay. So what do you find are the challenges? Like you said to me off air, I want to teach designers about wallpaper. I want to be informative. I want to help them learn. What is it that's on your plate that you're thinking are the stick points and the things that we need to know, Chelsea?
I mean, yes, it's great if you know how to calculate wallpaper, but like you said, leave it to the installer, leave it to the professional. Um, but there are things that you need to know, like what types of papers can go where. Does your client even have the wall to put wallpaper? You might spec wallpaper, call up the installer, give them a blueprint. They're basing it off a blueprint. You order the wallpaper, and the installer gets to the job and they're like, "Oh, you have knockdown. So we can't even hang on this. And you need to, skim coat the walls or something." So just like
What's knockdown? What's that mean?
if your walls are textured.
Oh, okay.
So, like,
Okay.
you obviously want a smooth wall when you're hanging wallpaper. So, just
Okay.
simple things like that, too, that designers need to consider before they spec wallpaper.
Okay. Okay. And then when you think about the brands, like when I think about the brands, I think about Tebow, I think about Philip Jeffries, I think about Kravitt, I think about Romo and Harlequin, right? So you have all the brands there, and regardless if I have an account with these different things for fabric or trims or other things, I can just place the order through you.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. What are some of the other go through like the horror stories that you have witnessed designers enduring that you're just like, if I could have helped you with it, I could have avoided that for you.
Well, a lot of that comes when they don't use our installers or they use their own, like, the contractor says that he can hang paper. I'm sure he can, but he probably shouldn't. And that right there is another tip. Like, make sure your contractor can really hang the paper, or is he subbing it out to an actual installer? We just had a horrible story. They used their contractor to install the paper and it was defective and it was flaking off, and they just kept hanging it. Well, a real good installer would have said, "Hey, this is defective and I'm not going to keep hanging this, and you need to, call up your rep and you need to let them know." So just things like that, like make sure you're actually using a professional wallpaper installer, especially now with how complicated the wallpapers are getting. I mean, you have like beaded wallpaper, you have embroidered paper, bark that can't even bend. Like, how are you supposed to bend that around a wall? I don't know. Ask your
Right.
installer.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. It's so funny. I can't even imagine someone thinking that the builder could hang the wallpaper. Like I literally, I'm not a designer, been in the industry 100 years, but that just seems so like ridiculous to me. Like I don't know. It's like like you're, going to spend $50,000 on, wall covering for a house between all the different, rooms. I mean, it can add up to that kind of number when you're using high-end wall coverings,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And you're just going to let the guy who built the walls. It's just like, I'm sorry, what gives that guy or woman that skill set, right?
Mm-hmm. Or the homeowner who thinks they can hang it themselves, which is
Oh,
very
that's so
rare,
fun.
but it's like you just spent $5,000 on this little powder room and you're gonna like, come on, like let's not
Yeah.
skimp on that.
Yeah. Right, right, right. Well, and it's funny because I think, especially when you work in the designer market, you are typically seeing a lot of unusual type papers. And, whether it's, paperbacked or it's this, it's not like, what you're picking up in the big box store in the aisle. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like it does take a level of experience and expertise to work with these papers. Um, what's one thing I always noticed in the very beginning of my career was the disconnect of the expectations for grass wall covering, right? It's like you got one person saying, "Oh my God, I can see every strip, all the seams." Another person saying, "That's exactly what it's supposed to be like." And it's like, that disconnect. So when you have a new designer that you're working with and it is an unusual paper, maybe it's a grass, like what are some of the types of papers that come to mind that you have to say, did you know this? Like for window treatments, we're like, did you know this linen fabric you're giving me? In the summer, it's going to be 2 inches on the ground. In the winter, it's going to be 2 inches off the ground, or vice versa. I don't remember which way it goes, which, but it's not stable. So, what are some of the papers that you can think of that you have to like educate a newer designer on that has no experience with it?
Grass cloth is the number one. We tell all of our clients, we have visuals, we pull out books and we're like, this is how it panels, this is how it seams. Are you okay with this? Like, it's the nature of it, it's beautiful. And there are a lot of designers that are also unaware of that. So, like, having education on that, like, what will that actually look like when it's installed? And we've
Mm-hmm.
had people say, oh, this paper's defective. And we're like,
Yeah.
no, it comes in panels, it's beautiful. So, things, and even like, they have seamless grass cloths now, raffia, and some of the raffia will have big strips of colorways going through it where, because it's a natural grass. So like depending on
Ah.
how much water that grass got, like things like that will even alter, like in the individual panel that's on the wall, you'll have shading as well. So just
Huh.
knowing that and being aware of that. And it's not a
Yeah.
defect.
No, and see, and that's the thing. It's like, and that's the same conversation I used to say with linen. I used to take the fabric and scrunch it in my hand, the memo, and I'd say, "See this? This is it's gonna look like. It's gonna have these wrinkles." you know. Oh well, you can steam that. No, ma'am, I can't steam that. Like I'm gonna give it a shot of steam, but it's not gonna come out. And it's like, and if you don't, and the thing is, you go out to the Hamptons and everybody has linen and everybody loves it. And they all know it's wrinkled. But you go to a lot of other places around the Tri-City area, like, your installer didn't iron our drapes. And I'm like, right, because they're linen. They're supposed to look like that. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder,
Yes.
but we have to, I don't care if you don't think it's pretty, but don't order it if you don't think it's pretty,
Right.
because I can't make it into something it's not, right?
Yes, like be aware of what you're speccing to your client and make them aware of it so you don't
Yeah.
end up with those issues after the install or during the
Yeah.
install.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you one thing I always drove me batty about wallpaper is, priced in singles, sold in doubles. Who started that
It's
nonsense? Like, I
horrible.
don't understand it, right? Isn't it dumb,
It is
Chelsea? I
so,
mean,
in my girls, like I have trained my girls over and over, and like it is so hard to comprehend. And every line is different. Like Harlequin, yeah, they say like buy the Euro roll. Okay, well, that's an
right,
11-yard double roll. It
right.
is the worst.
I know. I just don't get it. It's like, well, we sell tires, two at a time, but you have to buy four. Like what? Like it's just so nonsensical. I have never understood it ever, ever. And anytime I've had to order wallpaper, I'm standing there having the conversation on the phone or in person with the wallpaper hanger going, okay, all right. When you say roll, you mean a double roll, right? No, I mean a single roll. Okay. So you mean 10 single rolls. Right. 6 doubles. Okay, right. Let's stop doing the other side. Just let's stick with it.
It's like, I think they started that because wallpaper is pricey, right? You don't want to
Yeah,
hear
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
$400 a bolt. You want to hear, oh, it's $200 a single roll. It's like sold
But
by
you
the
have to
yard.
take 2, unless no matter how much you need, you have to have all of
I
it.
know it is so, yeah. And then there's minimums. You can need like, 15 yards, but you have to buy a 20-yard bolt. And then the client's like, well, wait, I thought you said I need, the installation says 15 yards, but I'm buying 20. Like, why am I
Yeah.
getting extra yardage?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's so crazy. I like I said, we've had it as a item in the showroom for 100 years. Kim is good at it. Kim is good at selling wallpaper. I have never. I I mean, the only time anybody's ever bought a wallpaper for me is if they opened a book, pointed at it, and said, "Sell it to me," because I'm not like they. Because the other thing I hate about the wallpaper books is that they're like ADD. It's like you open up one book and it's got florals and it's got geometrics and it's got like some it doesn't usually have grass in the middle. It's somehow they've all figured out to put all the grass in a book.
Oh,
I don't know
now they're
why
in the
that's the
middle.
only paper.
Now they're in the middle.
For crying out loud. And it's like, I like people like for years. Oh, and I'm interested in wallpaper. You bring the books? I will not. I'm like, no, ma'am. I brought books to one person's house one time. I carried in these blasted heavy books, like 15 books. I first came in with 3 books. In 5 seconds, you go through 300 samples. Bang, 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 bang. Nothing here. Back and forth, back and forth. And I'm just like, nope, never doing this again.
Mm-hmm.
You want to buy wallpaper, come into the showroom, plop the damn books up on the counter, look to your heart's content, point at the one you want, I'll sell it to you. Like,
Yeah, and that is a service that we help designers with too. So we'll lug the books to the job. We'll go through it. We'll narrow it down for them. And the designers are like, thank you so much.
Yeah. That is critical because, like, a lot of times, particularly as a designer, you have an idea of what you want. You want a big, frond leaf, or you want a pinstripe, or whatever the hell you want, right? Like, but it's like with the books, the books being categorized with no category.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, I can't just bring you 5 floral books because you want a floral in your pattern room. I got to give you 45 books and each one has 1 floral in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but see, that's where Kim is so good because she has a laser memory when it comes to fabric and pattern. So it doesn't matter if it's fabric or wall covering. She will be like, oh, and she'll walk around the wallpaper counter and she'll be like, this book right here. And then she'll go, and this book right here, and this one. They all have, medium sized florals in this colorway. And I'm like, you're a wackadoodle. Like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
So that is a good service that if you can provide that to a designer, because otherwise you have no choice. It's not like, like the fabric companies. It's like, okay, here's multi-prints, here's large prints, here's stripes, here's plaids. It's like, thank you. I just pulled the book of plaids. Thank you. I need a plaid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So very good. Okay. How does it work? So if I have a trade account with you, how does pricing work? So if I could get it from, Romo for $200 a yard and direct, if I had an account, am I going to pay $200 with you? Am I going to pay $250 a roll with you? Like, how does your trade pricing work?
So it depends on which brand. Some lines we can give it to you at trade pricing and some lines we can't. So designers are aware that, yeah, they're going to have maybe a slightly smaller profit margin, but their time opened up. They just saved like 5 hours. It took us 20 minutes because just like your employee, we all know the books. It's insane. I could have looked at the book a year ago and I know exactly where that floral is. So
see, she's the same way.
It's crazy. And all the girls are like that. I think it's just like muscle memory. Like, I pulled it from this, I pulled it from here. So we're saving the designer hours and hours of their time. And they're not calling. Like, let's say you are looking for a floral. Well, guess what? There's one floral from Romo. There's one from Philip Jeffries. There's one from Tebow. You're calling every single one of those vendors, or you're logging online and you're ordering, and then you're tracking it and you're waiting for it. Hey, it didn't show up. Let me call the vendor again. So it's just easier to have one phone to call, one email to follow up. And then, we also track the samples. So like we're saying like, hey, this sample never got to the designer. Let me reorder it. And also price points, like knowing the lines. Designers can't possibly know every aspect of everything, the hardware, the flooring, the wallpaper. So they say, my client wants to be in this budget, and we save so much time only sourcing from certain lines that are within that budget.
Right. Whereas a designer would walk into a showroom without that service and, possibly fall in love with 3 out of 4 papers that once they're priced out, it's not even reasonable. And now they've wasted all that time. They've convinced themselves that it's perfect for the job, only to find out that it's twice the price point that they have left for that room, for that budget, right?
But yes, of course, a
Yes.
lot of our designers do have their own accounts, and it is a struggle. Like, we just work on the honor system. Hey, if we helped you
Yeah.
and we're ordering your samples and we're placing your order, like, place your order with us. But
Yes.
some don't, some do, and we know the ones that do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because I had that here. Oh my gosh, this has got to be going back 20 years ago. And it took us about a year to figure out that this one designer was coming in and not only using the library, but insisting that we pull the samples for her. So like pull the books out. So it was like I was her assistant for the 2-hour shopping spree for wall covering because I made no bones about it. I don't know this library. It's here for you to do. Like you just didn't have to drive to New York City to the D&D building and you didn't have to go in 10 showrooms. You came to one place, there's 300 books here, have at it, right? But she would have us, literally, oh, how about in that book? Oh, let me look. And you're standing there while she's looking. How about that book? And I guess about the third or fourth time she came in a year's time, and I'm spending 2 or 3 hours each time, Kim says to me, she goes, she's ordering wallpaper on her own. And I'm like, what? She's like, she is. She goes, I went into one of the jobs. She goes, what? Because this is, see, I don't remember. I don't pay attention, right? Kim's like, that wallpaper that she liked the last time she was here, it's in the powder room. She goes, we didn't sell it to her. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, she's just like literally having you do the physical work of pulling the books onto the thing. And she's writing it down and you're ordering her the samples, but then she's ordering it on her own.
And she's probably
And
billing the client.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the thing is, it's like our showroom has always been open to designers. And I've always said, you know what? Use the showroom. Come here. It's 13 miles and anywhere from an hour to 3 hours to New York City from my showroom, right? Like if your only option is to go on to New York City and this makes your life easier because I've got 2,000 fabric books and 300 wallpaper books, do it. And then do with your own accounts. But I would always say the same thing. Like, but I'm just saying, if you're going to use us, then place the order with us. If you're going to come in and use it as a resource and you want to order on your own, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I really, truly am. And I've got so many designers that are usually more the other way. Oh, I could never come in there because I would feel funny about not placing the order with you. And I'm like, girl, as long as you don't tie me up away from my desk for an hour, I really don't care. I'm happy to know I saved you 3 hours round trip to New York City and 15 showrooms instead of one.
Yeah, we do the same thing with designers, and we have a lot of them, and we love them on. Every time they come in, we're like, hey girl, like, what's the project?
Yeah.
And I do not care. Like, these books are here. I just say my number one rule, don't pull my employees away from what they're doing, and order your own samples, take pictures. And I don't let them check the books out either. Like, other clients can check the books out. So come in here, use it as you please. We even point them in the right direction, and and we have drawers and drawers that are categorized. So like, this drawer has all the flowers, this drawer has all the stripes, and designers love it. And they come in, and some of them order on their own, and I'm totally fine with that. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah. You know what it is? You can't wake up every day and go, oh my God, does somebody not give me a wallpaper order? Like, you can't worry about that stuff. But it is, I like that you said the honor system. It's like, just be a good human about it,
exactly.
right? Like, just be a good human about it. That one designer long retired. She was, probably 20 years older than me 20 years ago. So she long retired.
I know. It's like,
yeah. And if anything is with me, you know what? She was a nice enough person. And if she just said to me point blank, this is difficult for me to manage these books and handle these books, they're heavy, I probably would have done it happily then.
Yeah.
But it was the whole covert part of it that was like, come on,
Yeah.
you know? And of course, you know, Kim's like, I was on the last job and I walked in there and the wallpaper, and I was like, oh, for crying out loud, you know?
Especially when
So,
we're like calculating it, because like we calculate for everyone. So it's like,
yeah.
I just spent all this time telling you how much paper you need. And then my mom will be like, hey, so I'm on this job with this designer. Like she said she came to you. I'm like, she didn't order. That's interesting.
Oh, interesting,
But
right?
it never like really, really bothers me. I'm just like, oh,
Yeah,
come
you
on.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't lose sleep over it because there's real things to lose sleep over. That's not one of them,
Yeah.
right?
But then of course you like rethink your structure of your business. You're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and you also then you adjust your services just like designers do for their clients who aren't exactly honorable. Hey, before we get to the show, I want to do a quick shout out and a thank you to Cravat Inc. for sponsoring the podcast. I want you to know that it's time to discover luxury for less with Cravat Furniture's popular upholstery trio, the Jazz, Porter, and Taylor. Now, with improved pricing and faster production times, these stylish frames are available with a 6-week turnaround. Can you imagine furniture in 6 weeks? Kravat's exceptional service combined with great pricing makes them the perfect choice for your next interior design project. Go to kravat.com to learn more and sign up for your design trade account today. Right?
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I've always found challenging with wall coverings is the internet. I mean, and I'm talking about 20 years ago, the internet, right? And so for a long time, and of course, I have not been in charge of our buying and our sampling here at Window Works in probably for wallpaper, probably a good 10 years. I have not had that say. I gave that over to Kim even when I was still full-time here at Window Works. But one of my things was if you sell your paper online, then don't even walk in the door. Don't even talk to me. Like if your whole line is online, no. But I don't even know if that's a thing anymore with the internet. Like, are the name brands that we've been saying, are they now available on the internet to the end consumer, or is it still pretty trade protected? Because, you know, it's one thing when you think you can get a sofa on the internet, right? Well, you're not getting the quality that you're going to get at, you know, some of the nicer brands that the designers have access to. And it's not getting white glove delivered, or like you think you can get drapes on the internet. Okay. And so when they're 2 inches off the floor and the rod is bent in the middle because it's not the right weight, like it's sort of like go at it. But wallpaper is kind of wallpaper no matter who orders it. So what's that like in this era now? I'm not even aware, Chelsea.
It is a huge issue. Huge issue. Like weekly, we get clients like, oh, hey, I just looked at your estimate and I found it online. Can you price match it? I'm like, that website didn't just spend 3 hours with you, and that website didn't
Oh,
calculate it.
yeah.
But some of our vendors are really good. So you have to sell it for a certain price if you do have it online. And then surprisingly, some very large names that I will not say do not police the internet, and we know those lines. So depending on the
You stay
client,
away
we
from
feel
them.
them out, and we'll probably not show that line right
Mm-hmm.
away unless someone specifically asks for it, because we know that this other line doesn't allow their products to be sold online, and it's just as good and it's beautiful and it has a better price point even. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's how I always like I said, I don't know what it's like now currently, which ones are available and which are not. I wouldn't know. But I can tell you 10 years ago, if you could order your line online, your product line online, you didn't have a sample book in my showroom. I didn't care if I only had 2 brands. I'm like, this is already another bear to manage that I'm not dealing with that level of it. You know what I mean? And I mean, for many, many years, we were the only place within like an 8-mile radius, which is kind of far, you know, to get wallpaper. And so I was like, yeah, these are the 2 lines we have or the 3 lines we have. You want more than that? Go search it yourself on the internet. Now I'm not talking about designers at this point, consumers. You know what I'm saying? But it's just it is a hot it's a harder sell to the end consumer. To a designer, I think it's just what you said. Listen, okay, you're going to save, $80 a roll or $20 a roll, but I saved you 5 hours of labor looking for it, calculating it, checking the price on it, getting the memos for you, right? It's like, go add that to the internet price and see who comes out
Yeah.
better,
And
right?
depending on how some of these designers' contracts are written, they actually sometimes make a little bit more money on it because let's say like their contract's written like, oh, we have a 20% markup on our cost of it. Well, now you're paying a little bit more. So you're getting, the markup is a little
Ah,
different. And so you can do it
yeah.
that way too. But yeah,
That's it,
online
right?
is a huge issue. So, I mean, that's, in so many aspects of design, I'm sure designers see that every single day, and you just have to adapt and,
Yeah.
figure out.
Well, and it's funny because it's the same argument that a designer needs to make to their consumer. And I had a big debate on Instagram 3 or 4 months ago with a regular consumer. And she's like, oh, Lordy, with the internet, why does anybody even need designers anymore? And actually, she said, these people. And I was like, wait a second. What did you just say there? It was like as if she had, dissed one of my kids. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to come out of my hole to have this conversation with you. And I just was like, yeah, if you just want to buy a sofa, go buy a sofa. But if you want to put together a room that is spatially coordinated, that is texturally coordinated, that is of elevated quality, that actually has some thought into it, and that, the rug is, coordinates with the sofa, which coordinates with the tables, which coordinates with the bookcase, stop. You want a sofa, go on the internet and buy a sofa. You want a room designed, you need a professional. And that's kind of the same thing here. It's like, you just want to buy a roll of wallpaper, then go buy it. But you want somebody to help you figure out of these 300 books, the best floral for that pattern that you walked in with, right? And you want somebody to check the price and the stock and everything else. So it's like, you almost are in the same position as the designer is, saying, there's more here than the roll of wallpaper, right?
And like knowing what to spec. Like, sure, you think that wallpaper is going to be great. Well, you got it in and it ended up being peel and stick, which is like, oh, like installers won't even touch it. So
I was going to ask you about the new peel and stick. It's not new rage, but it's the last several years, the peel and stick rage. What do you think about that? Like,
I
I
mean,
can see your
I
face.
get it. I get it. And they have like peel and stick grass cloth now. I mean,
Oh my
it's
God.
crazy. But it is horrible to work with. It peels off the wall. I mean, it's not great. So like, and honestly, some of it is not even less expensive. So you're paying
Oh.
almost the same amount and then you can't find anyone to install it. It doesn't look good. It doesn't cut well. It doesn't seam well. So it just looks crappy on the wall too.
Yeah. So it's truly a DIY lane, right? It's
Absolutely.
like, for me, if somebody's like, "Oh, that wood blind at Home Depot is $40. Why is your 400?" I'm like, "Listen,
Exactly.
if I got to explain that to you, we're already done. We're already done. The conversation's already over, right?"
Exactly. Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that, listen, when my kids were in college, we put the $40 blinds up in their dorm rooms. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lane for everything. So, but the peel and stick you find is more for the DIY lane, as opposed to like a designer probably should stay away from it for most of their higher level consumer.
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with very high-end clientele here, and
Mm-hmm.
they have high-end projects. Very rarely do we ever have anyone come in and say, we want peel and stick. I mean, and of course, I'm like so tempted if someone does to be like, go to Home Depot, go to
Right.
Target. But like, I don't say
Right.
that.
Right.
I'm just
Right.
like, oh, what is your reasoning for wanting peel and stick? A lot of times they think it's just a budget because they think it's less expensive, and it's not always less expensive. So just trying
Right.
to figure that out. We
Mm-hmm.
have one
Yeah.
book here that has
Yeah.
peel and stick.
And so, like, what would be the use? It would be like an apartment that I'm definitely taking a 1 year lease and I have no idea if I'm going to renew. Maybe I would have put a peel and stick there. Or maybe a baby where, it's newborn and in 3 years I know I'm going to do the room again. Are there other, is that like really kind of the lane for peel and stick if you were even going to think about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
She's like, if you make me.
yeah, it's like usually our clientele would be fine spending $5,000 on wallpaper and changing it in a year when their kid gets sick of it,
Yes.
So like that's
Yes.
just
That's
not
the
really our
design
clientele.
market.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
if someone, we have online stores as well, and those are all peel and stick. We sell a lot of peel and stick online. So
Oh, see, yeah,
that's
it's
like,
the DIYers.
we don't like help the client. We're not spending
Yeah.
hours with them, but
When
like
it
it's
falls off
there.
the wall, don't call me.
Exactly.
That's what
All
it's about.
sales
I'm gonna tell
final.
you. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you it's gonna fall off the wall, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, but usually, I mean, there's a market for everyone, and those just usually aren't our clientele,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. So, what is it? What else? What am I not thinking about? Lance, first of all, okay, so you're in Palm Beach. So, if I'm in Iowa, is there any reason that I should reach out to you and work with you versus going to somewhere else? Or if I'm local, like, what's the deal? How does it work, Chelsea?
We do have a lot of clients out of state. So we do virtual showroom appointments. So we will like Zoom with them or Google Meets, and we have the library right there, and we just pull books and show them. So you get access, Palm Beach wallpaper showroom from anywhere.
And do you find that a lot of designers take advantage? Like, what is like? Listen, I've been into the D&D building like a billion times over my lifetime, and sometimes you get a really helpful sales rep, and sometimes you don't, and sometimes they're all having coffee and nobody can be bothered to talk to you. Like, you just never know, right? So is that what it is? It's like if I feel like I need a little more assistance or education or hand-holding with it, is that the primary reason that I might reach out to you versus just going into one of the showrooms in my local design center?
I think it just opens up like so many more options. So if you're going to go into Philip Jeffries, that Philip Jeffries rep only knows Philip Jeffries paper. And if they know, a Romo paper, they're probably not going to say, oh, you know what? Romo actually has something really similar.
As a
That's half the price.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
just having that, like, of course, go to your reps. They're going to sell you their paper. They
Yeah.
work on commissions. You come here, you fall in love with that Philip Jeffries wallpaper. It's absolutely beautiful. I never do this, Megan, don't worry. But I'll say, hey, you know what? If this isn't in your budget, I know a line that has probably the exact same paper for, a fraction of the price. So you can end up selling it to your client.
Yeah.
And it looks identical. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
it probably
Or
saves
even
you
if it
money.
doesn't look identical, right? Like a lot of times, there's something about that Philip Jeffries paper that is making it worth that price point,
Absolutely.
right? But like, value engineered, something that's sort of like it. And if you've got them side by side as a designer, you're going to like, I kind of want that one. I like it better. But if you're trying to make an end budget work and the look is more what's happening and yada, yada. I mean, I'm sure there's some times where the wallpaper is the showstopper in the room. Like
Absolutely.
that's the thing we're spending. But sometimes it's a supporting actor, and maybe it's the chandelier or the sofa or the rug. And so that's where I hear what you're saying. It's like if you're in a showroom like yours where you have multiple brands and the knowledge, you can be kind of like it, but less expensive.
Yeah.
Or, oh, if you like that and that's not quite amazing enough, let me show you this.
Mm-hmm.
More expensive, but like, stop, you're going to fall down when you see it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And of course, you're not going to get that going into your individual showrooms because they either don't know the lines or they're obviously not going to push you to another line. So just
Right.
having all those options.
Yeah. Well, and even just thinking about, even if you are at the Chicago Mart or the D&D or, whatever your Pacific Design Center, like you've got to go in and out of all those showrooms and be like, okay, in that showroom, it was this kind of floral, it was kind of the colors and it was kind of this price point. And it was, how about we get into the widths, right? It's like, oh, that one's 20 wide. This one's 27 wide. I end up needing one less double roll because it's, so now the roll price might be the same, but if the width price is dramatically different, you can need less wall covering too, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just easy one-stop shop. I mean, they can show us something or they're like, "Oh yeah, what showroom was I in? I don't know." Well, I was
Ah,
at Chelsea Lane and it was a floral, so you text us a picture. What was this pattern again? Oh, boom, here it is. Do you want a
right,
sample?
right,
Yeah, we'll
right.
send it to you.
Right, right, right. And then when you are working with designers not in your locale, curious, will you still calculate how much they need if depending on the level of the information they can give you, or do you at that point say, look, whoever the end hanger is going to be, that's who should calculate
Yeah,
it?
if we are not doing the install, if we're not doing the install and they're not local, we always say, "This is how much we think you need, but go speak to your installer because they might think something different."
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I would handle it too.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not getting in the middle of that, he said, she said situation,
Yeah.
right?
And even on our
Yeah.
estimates, we're like, designer gave us the measurements, or like if we're not doing site measurements or like field measures, we always put in there like designer decided,
Yeah.
they, calculated it, or the
Yeah.
installer told them how much to get. So,
Right, right. And so that's a good point. For the designers that are local to Palm Beach, you will do a field measure and actually own the calculation of the measurements and how many yards you say to get.
yes.
Okay, good.
It's so funny because on this little cheat sheet, obviously we explain how to measure, right? Even though, or how to calculate, even
We
though,
don't want you to.
yeah, right. Like obviously the installer should calculate it, or whoever, your showroom, your local showroom maybe does that for you as well. But we put it on there and I'm reading this and I'm like, this probably makes sense to no one, but like it is such, and then I looked at my girls and I said, can you believe we do this math all day long?
Yes. Believe me, I know. And, for anybody who's listened to the show for the beginning, they know I am so math challenged. But literally, I spent 40 years calculating yardage, measuring to the 16th of an inch and, figuring out, widths and half drop matches and all that crap. And I'm just like, my God, that's why I love what I do now. I do not have to do any math. I love it. The only math is counting it in the bank account. That's
Yeah.
it.
There is so much math in that. Absolutely. And then it
Yeah.
changes like,
Yeah.
oh, you just calculated an entire like house. And then they're like, oh, well, we changed these 3 papers. Like, can you
I
just
know.
update it? I'm like, do you understand we have to redo like everything?
Exactly. Exactly. That happens to us. We'll give a full quote and they're like, oh, what's really what happens with us more often than it should is we'll quote you your drapery fabric that you need or Roman shade fabric, whatever it is, based on a particular pattern. This just happened at WindowWorks about a month ago. And, then the sale, months later, the sale goes through. Here comes the PO. Here comes the payment for the drapery order. And the next thing you know, the fabric comes in and we asked for 28 yards. And so we got 28 yards, but we send it off to the workroom and we've got this pattern, this width, this repeat. And we're looking at it. We're like, wait a second, look at that packing slip. That's not that pattern. That's not that width. That's not that repeat. And now we recalculate and we're like, oh, now you need 31 yards. And we call the designer and she's like, oh, well, I mean, what's the big deal? Oh, okay, sweetie. What's the big deal?
Oh, yeah.
You're right. Well, are you going to pay for that 3 yards? Oh, yeah, you're right. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. Because guess what? You can't get me 3 now. You have to get me 6 because I need a full cut.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you have waste.
And it has to match dye lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. I'm going to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's not happening.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So it is, and with wall covering, like I said, the little bit of wall covering I did, there's like 4 or 5 roll widths. It's not like fabric is pretty much 54 and 118. Now there are others. You'll get a 48 inch, you'll get a 52, you'll get a 120, but 80% of the fabrics are 54 or 118. Wall covering, this one's 20, this one's 21, this one's 27, this one's 36, this one's 48. And you're just like, sweet.
And not even are the widths different, but then the roll lengths change based like,
yes!
And it's not even like, oh, if it's 27, it's definitely going to be 9. No, it could be 27
right.
and 11 and it could,
right.
It's, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not, that's why I just like, look, point and shoot. Just tell me what you want, how many you want, and I'll give you an invoice.
Yeah.
I'm not getting involved. Very complicated, but really a tremendous enhancement to a space though.
Yes. And like you said, it could be like the whole entire design of the room, or it could just be the backdrop, which is, I love too, like a simple grass cloth. It could be, It could just be nothing, but it's everything too.
Yeah, yeah. And it is also a talent to select wallpaper, I think, more so than window treatment fabrics and stuff and sofa fabrics. It's just some little extra gene I think you need to be able to imagine that wall covering on there. I mean, Kim, again, she's really good at it. She's picked the wallpapers in the showrooms over the years that we've had for my own home, the bathrooms and stuff. And I'm always like, really? That one? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, whatever you say. And then it's up. I'm like, dang, that's great looking, But I'm looking at the sample going, I don't know. This is a little weird. This feels crazy, pants,
Yeah, like the scale of it.
Yeah.
Everything. And the repeat.
Everything matters.
The repeat is a
Yeah.
big one. Like some of them, you see this little sample and you're like, oh, that looks great. But it's like, well, you have a pineapple every 2 inches and it looks ridiculous. Like that is a terrible paper. So just knowing, like understanding the
Yeah.
repeats and the drops and the scale of the
Yeah.
room is big.
Yeah. That's the other thing I have to say. I imagine you do a good job on the sampling too, because I can remember this one time. It was a consumer picked a paper. This is like I think every designer ever has had this happen before, but picked a paper. It had a bird on the paper. She liked it. We didn't talk about the bird. She just picked the paper. I like this paper. I'm not like, do you like that bird? Just like the bird is there. We can all see it. But the sample was sent to her. I didn't look at the sample first. I sent her the sample. She said, yep, that's the one. My wallpaper guy said X amount. And then she comes home from work and it's there. And she's like, there weren't birds on this paper. And I'm like, I don't remember if there were birds or not. And I pull out the book. I'm like, yes, ma'am, there are birds on this. There's no birds on my sample. And I'm just like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
And so that kind of thing. Like, so I imagine you're probably looking at like after that, I never once sent a sample of a bold print that had an unusual characteristic like a pineapple or a bird or any crazy pants thing without looking at the sample and making sure I got a sample that had the weird thing on it. Because, you do forget by the time you pick it and you pick 16,000 other things for your room and the sample comes, you're like, those are the colors. In that case, I do eat it. I did eat that. I was like, you know what? You saw the darn bird, but I get it. It wasn't in the sample.
Yeah.
I'll own it.
And even some of the wallpaper books, like the patterns are getting so big. I mean, large scale patterns, murals are really big right now. So you'll have like a piece of a pattern in the wallpaper book, but it might have like purple in like a
Yes.
section of it. And you're not even seeing that in the sample book itself in the showroom. So it's like
Right.
knowing that and being like, hey, I know you like this, but like, let me go online and show you the full repeat because there's purple over
Yep.
here in the corner you're not seeing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's things like
Back in the
that.
day, the books would have like photography of those wackadoodle ones. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I can think with the internet now that they might more be like just go to to the website and see it. But I'm also going back 30 years ago when there was no internet.
Yeah, I mean, they have images, but they might only show like one colorway,
Yeah, yeah,
one
yeah,
full
yeah.
image.
Oh, right. You're right.
Yeah, which also
This one's
reminds
got
me
fuchsia in it.
of getting CFAs. So like even color variation. So like if you're seeing a grass cloth sample and you're basing your entire room off of it and you're like, this is the most perfect blush I've ever seen in my life. And then you don't order a CFA and then that actual dye lot comes in. CFA, cutting for approval. I'm sure
Right.
everyone knows. And we have seen this happen where we always recommend CFAs and sometimes designers are like, no, I'm in a hurry. I just want the order. Okay,
Yeah.
if you say so, can you sign this paper, please, that says you didn't want a CFA? And the
Yeah.
paper comes in and you're like, oh, it's actually more blue than pink. And is this the wrong paper? No, it's just a different dye lot. So
Yeah, because the sample that gets sent is it's also sitting on the shelf for weeks or months or years. It's not exactly what's in the warehouse that's on the rolls at the moment, right?
exactly. And you see that a lot with natural textures. So like grass cloths, raffias. And you are seeing it with some prints like Quadrille. I mean, they're very good with their CFAs. I think they don't even give you an option. I think they send you a CFA no matter what, and they
Yeah, they're
make you
like, we're
sign
not
it.
screwing around with you.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah, but
But it's like designer understands that when they go to like, specify a countertop. They just don't say, we'll get marble. They go to the stone yard and they look at all the slabs of the marble and the whatever the other slabs are, granite, whatever. I don't even know if anybody buys granite anymore, but it used to be that you'd go and you'd pick, here's Santa Cecilia, 6 slabs of Santa Cecilia granite. Which one do you want? Because I'm going to put your name on this one.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
because they're
Same
all
type of
different.
thing. Yeah,
Slightly,
exactly.
but it could make a big
Right.
difference.
Yes, yes, especially, when you are pulling the rest of the room together to work with it, right? 100%. Well, so how do they reach you, Chelsea, if they're interested in having some help and guidance in specifying their next wallpaper project?
So right on our website, chelsealaneco.com, in the top, you can book a virtual appointment. So those are free the first 30 minutes to an hour. We help you. We get scope of the job. We also have Instagram. You can text us, email us, call us.
All the ways, all the ways. But Chelsea Lane wallcoverings.co.com. Is that what it was?
Yes, and that is the same with all of our social media handles. Everything's Chelsea Lane Co.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us today, Chelsea. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope you liked this conversation with Chelsea as much as I did, right? On the surface, yeah, we talked about wallpaper, but underneath, this was really about the business of making smart decisions and surrounding yourself with the right partners. One of my biggest takeaways, every product you source, wallpaper, window treatments, tile, rugs, comes with numbers attached. And if those numbers are off, if the quantity is wrong, if the paper isn't suited for the wall, if your installer isn't qualified, these mistakes don't just cause headaches. It's a hit to your profitability, your reputation, and that all-important client experience. And as much as I hate thinking back to the time that client and I chose a bird wallpaper, even though we didn't realize it, it's a perfect example. The sample that we looked at, the page in the wallpaper book, didn't show a bird. So when it was up on our wall, not so fun, right? Now, technically, did she approve the paper? Yes, but so did I, right? Emotionally, did either one of us approve the paper? No. And of course, she could end up feeling very misled if I hadn't been willing to step up and eat the cost, right? And of course, after that, I never once sent a sample without checking and double checking that, we have the image. Now you have it online, right? We didn't have that stuff in the day. Let me just tell you. Right? So there are ways to get around it, but the point is that you have to make a process to get around it. That's the point, right? I learned that lesson the hard way. A lot of business lessons are exactly that, the hard way. Mistakes can happen when you're rushing, going it alone, right? Having an experienced expert who knows how to pull the right sample, double check the repeat, flag potential surprises, worth its weight in gold, my friend. And that is why vendors like Chelsea are so important. Because yes, this is about relationships, but it's also about your bottom line. When you partner with someone who knows how to source accurately, calculate quantities, flag problems, protect your orders, you're not just saving time, you are doing those things that I've mentioned over and over again today, protecting your profit margins, timelines, and client trust. Your vendors are an extension of your business, and when they're sharp, professional, and invested in your success, it shows up in all the places, all right? Mistakes in this category aren't just simply oopsies, are they? They're expensive. So aligning with really trusted professionals is not, it's just not optional, right? It's essential. This brings me back to what I always come back to, respect your vendors. When someone offers you their time, their expertise, their resources, honor that. Place the order with them, loop them in, treat them like the value part of your extended team that they are. Because when we all show up with integrity and professionalism, the tide really does lift all boats. Okay. And this reminds me of a great conversation that I had recently with Margalit Lankry. Okay. Episode 1097. We will link it in the show notes. In this discussion, we discuss collaboration and community and how the more everyone in the industry levels up and behaves with professionalism, the better we will all do. Okay. And this starts with an abundance mindset. And I also love that Chelsea Showroom isn't just for locals of Palm Beach. With virtual appointments from anywhere, you can tap into her team's knowledge, virtually flip through the library in real time, and get their help in selecting and sourcing, all without leaving your office. That's the kind of service that saves you hours and keeps your projects moving. So please be sure to check out Chelsea at chelsealaneco.com. And then Chelsea also gave us a handy download, the designer cheat sheet. Okay, so make sure you go to the show notes and click on that and get that for yourself. Chelsea, thank you so much for this conversation, for sharing your knowledge and your expertise, and especially for that cheat sheet. I have to say this conversation was a reminder that success isn't just about talent. It's about who you trust, how you operate, whether you're running your business with intention at every touch point. All right. So please take the lessons to heart from Chelsea and the way she does it. I appreciate what you're doing so much, Chelsea. It really is a nice shining example of how we can all be better in our businesses. Thank you tons for showing up today. I appreciate you. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.